Welcome back to Hire the Right Virtual Assistant podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Smith. And if you are enjoying the show, please take a moment to like, subscribe, leave a review, share this episode with another business owner who's just doing too much. Today, I am going to talk about the top 8 questions you're asking before hiring a virtual assistant. I searched and I found, and it's crazy out there. It's important to note that while these are the most common questions, I did not make them up. I don't even ask all of them. But these are the most common questions on the internet. For the questions that I think are dumb or irrelevant, I'll tell you. Plus, I'll share the real value, the answers. And as I was going through the questions, something really stood out. These are leading questions created and invented by the company who is leading you down the path to sell to you. Clients just don't ask these questions, at least not in this way. So long story short, don't believe what you read on the internet blindly. Trust the person, me, who's willing to share everything I know, whether or not you hire me, because that's my mission. That you have the information to hire the right VA, whether or not you hire me. It's my mission because it's the right thing to do. Just like you don't need any VA, you need the right VA. If you don't believe me, read my book. Everything is in here. Again, today's episode is going to address the most common and most important questions people ask when think about hiring a virtual assistant. So, what should I ask before hiring a VA? Great place to start. This is not where to find one. This is not how much do they cost, but what to actually ask, like how to prepare yourself for the hiring process. And this actually matters more than most people realize. Hiring the right virtual assistant isn't just about finding someone who is capable. It's about finding that person who is aligned with your workflow, expectations, communication style, and business needs. You simply cannot hire the right VA with the right interview questions. There are questions that need to be answered before you even begin the process. Today, I'm walking you through the most common questions along with the answers. And I'm going to make sure that you are set up for success. I'm going to save you hours of internet searching, and I promise not to hold back or to punish you for not knowing what to ask. That is absolutely amateur hour. I see it all the time. It just drives me nuts. Question number 1. What tasks should I delegate to a VA? So this is actually the number 1 question. Also, this is a new number 1 question. When I first started my business over a decade ago, the number 1 question was, what is a VA? And then the immediate question number 2 was, where do I find one? Honestly, I like this question. It's a good question. I think it's fun and it's easy to answer. So the answer is, what drains your energy? Your productivity is directly tied to your energy levels. If you can't protect that, I can guarantee even if you are productive, you will exhaust yourself to the point of burnout or worse. And you won't be doing the work that you actually love. That's why you'll burn out. When you're in the zone working, you could work for hours and come out actually energized. It's energy-giving work. Now, work for a single hour on something that doesn't give you energy and watch how everything shifts for the worse. And here is where business owners get it wrong. They want to delegate the biggest thing on their plate or something that is long-term, like a project or a launch. Don't. That is a trap. And anyone who is selling you this is doing exactly that. They are selling. They are not assisting you. They are not helping you. The only time you should be hiring for the biggest thing on your plate or your long-term needs is when your immediate and short-term needs are already being met. They are already taken care of. So a lot of my clients come to me and say, I'm drowning. Well, if you're drowning, how's the long-term project going to save you right now? Question number 2, should I hire a VA full-time or part-time? The offshore companies really popularized this term for VAs. And with the prices they are charging, they have to have bulk purchases to come close to making money. It is not the norm to hire a VA in terms of part-time and full-time. And I will tell you without hesitation and unapologetically, my VAs in my network that I match with clients replace those VAs, and the difference is night and day. And I don't have time to go into that right now in detail because that's another topic. However, I will say that you get what you pay for. So if you are saving money hiring offshore, you are most certainly not saving time. VAs in my network save their clients an extraordinary amount of time, especially when compared to offshore VAs. My VAs are an investment who pay real dividends. And I keep on using the term my VAs, but the truth is they're not mine. It's not an agency. That's why it works so well. These are business owners. These are people who have decided to make virtual assistant their business and their profession. This is not someone who's just sitting back and waiting for people to come to them. And if they don't do a good job, they'll just get matched with someone else at the agency. That's not who they are. So back to the question. Most entrepreneurs overestimate how much time they need in the beginning. And I will tell you, there is no such thing as a full-time VA. In fact, let me tell you that if you have a full-time VA, you have an employee, and trying to circumvent employee benefits and employment laws is an extremely costly mistake. Do not do it. Now, some business owners might use the term part-time, and I get that. The term is antiquated, and having a VA for 20 hours a week is quite a lot. So if your business is hiring a VA at 20 hours a week, it will typically fall into 2 categories. 1, you are not an online entrepreneur, meaning you are not tied to your desk, a computer, or phone all day. You are out in the field. You are in constant meeting rooms and absolutely unable to check in throughout the day. So very busy. At the end of the day, if you didn't have someone working on your things, you would just have that all to do yourself. The second person is typically defined by money. So you are likely to have a 7-figure business and or have multiple employees already. Like there's a lot of moving parts here. This is not the average. So if you have a company, you may not be 7 figures, but you have a lot of people that you work with. There's a products, there's a lot of online customers. All those things come into play. So what the 2 have in common is meetings. And meetings are the unspoken rule of leadership that take the majority of your time, giving you less time to actually perform work. And that's why all these productivity hacks just don't work. The productivity hacks are for the person who grew their online business to $1 million and doesn't have employees, doesn't have a board, doesn't speak to people, doesn't have board meetings and presentations and strategy and time with other people. I mean, these people just are not my clients, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they just don't typically have meetings. It's almost like they are an employee to themselves. Meetings are exactly how you make money, or is the reason you're able to scale a business with people. For my clients, they're not a necessary evil. They are just necessary. And if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. You might be on a plane a lot. You might be in strategy sessions a lot. You may be a webinar host. You may be someone who presents. You may have a speaking career. You know who you are. If you don't fall into either of those buckets, then the average client hires a VA 5 to 10 hours a week, and you can retain a VA for as little as 10 hours a month. So there is a VA for everybody out there. Question 3, should I hire a specialist or a general VA? Oh my goodness. I cannot lie or sugarcoat this one. I think this is a dumb question. I do not like it at all. I get where it's going and the intention, but you can tell from the way it's asked, it was created by the specialist, like whoever the specialist is. This is not the way clients talk. I have worked with incredible business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, executives, CEOs, and no one has ever, not once, ever, did any of these people refer to themselves as specialists. When they want something, they just want it. They may not even know what it is they're asking for. They just know what the expectation is they're coming to me with. This question is so ego-driven, and that's why it bothers me so much. I'll answer the question for the way it's intended, but if you are speaking with someone and they start talking to you in terms of, are you a specialist or a generalist, and they aren't a doctor, run for the hills. Save that term for your medical professionals. Okay, here is the better question and the one that clients actually ask, one that was not invented by the specialist. Are my needs one person or two? And this is a really good question. There's no shame in this question at all. So let's say you need social media, podcast production, email marketing, and bookkeeping. You need some funnels to be created, maybe some graphic design. You need executable virtual assistant work. All these can get tied up in the same thing, and it's kind of like playing a game. Which one of these doesn't fit? Well, it's the bookkeeping and the executive virtual assistant work that doesn't fit. You could have the same person to do email marketing, funnels, graphic design, social media, podcast production. That could be an all-in-one service. But that company is not going to be your executive virtual assistant, and it's not going to do your bookkeeping. Question number 4. What experience should my VA have? And this is another one that is really surprising to see on the list. I've never been asked this question, not once. It's someone who has a lot of experience and came up with this question so that they could answer it and tell you all the experience that they have. So what I do get asked is where I source my VAs, how I find them, how they find me. That's a really valid question. Now, all my VAs are based in the States, and it's for many reasons. One, I can't guarantee work or culture outside of the States. I'm just not part of those things, so I can't guarantee my matches, and that's really important for me. Also, the top tier talent my clients are looking for is in the States. When I do background checks, I can't do that if the person is not in the States. So again, in the States, I can do a full background check. I cannot do that outside of the States, and that includes Canada. So there's a lot of different ways that you could find out someone's experience. I will tell you, I am both found and VAs find me through a strong network. I have built it over the years through my books, newsletter, podcasts, networking, just like most businesses. So you want to find your VAs in those same places. I have been in the VA industry for over a decade and in the administrative industry for over 30 years. So this is not new for me. I will tell you, fun fact, I graduated from secretary school on July 6, 1995. This is not a hobby for me. It is not a side hustle. And when you are looking for your VA, you want to look for the same. If they went from bookkeeping to a different field, like, you have to figure out, does that make sense? What's the story? What are they saying about that? You have to act like a recruiter. I utilize LinkedIn. I act like a recruiter. I tell people I live on LinkedIn. If you were to message me on LinkedIn, it would be the same as emailing me. So when you go searching, like, search the places that this person should be. If they are a social media VA, they should be on social media platform that they specialize in. They don't have to be in all of them, but they definitely need to be on the one that they specialize in. Having said all that, you need a career VA. If you hire someone who is doing a side hustle, set your expectations accordingly. By the very nature of a side hustle, it's not the thing they are giving their full attention to. Therefore, it would be a false belief that your work would be a priority. Their whole business is not a priority. Your work can possibly be a priority. Now, not all your work may be a priority. That's fine, but you just have to set the right expectations or you will be disappointed. Relevant experience and familiarity with your tools, that should be a given. In this day and age, like, if you are working in Microsoft and someone says, I don't work in Microsoft, I'm only in Gmail, which is a real thing. I am that person for the most part. Trust that, believe that. People have their favorites. They have tools that they work in, tools that they don't. No one can know them all, but people will have their preferences. And the greatest predictor of what someone will do successfully the first time is know what they've already done. You can call it habits, routine, discipline, but it is a great predictor. How do I know if they're the right fit? This is another question that a client didn't invent. What clients ask is, how do I know that they can do what they say they can do? This one, it comes up a lot. A lot of clients have said, they look good, they sounded good, they interviewed well, they said they can do it, and it was a total mess. Resumes, website, LinkedIn profiles, they can all look great. They can say all the right things. And this is where the hiring process gets really nitty gritty, and you have to know what you're looking for, which isn't always on paper, right? Like, in your profession, you've probably seen a lot of people come and go, and some people have just said the right thing, but you've been doing this for so long that you know what to take and then what to just throw out. So in this case, if you're going to do this, you need to speak to past clients for testimonials. Don't accept the testimonials on their site. Tell them that you want to speak to this person. Honestly, it is so rarely done by clients. The lack of due diligence is due to lack of time. So I get it. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. But if a client did this one thing like I do, they would not be fooled. You just wouldn't be. And in fact, you would be surprised at the number of VAs who will not give you past client information to reach out to. And they will say things like, oh, I have an NDA, or that's too personal, I just don't share it. That is crazy talk. That's just run. That is not a good fit. You're also looking for like businesses. For instance, I've never worked in corporate. The additional processes, procedures, red tape, and most importantly, expectations are foreign to me. I would be terrible as a corporate VA, just terrible. I want to know my marching orders. I want to get the work done. Creating agendas for a startup, solo, and senior leadership, corporate are all very different. It's creating agendas, yes. Who are you creating them for? Very different expectations. And you have to understand all this when you are hiring. So let's say you're a coach. You might be an executive corporate coach working for people in the Fortune 50, Fortune 100. And someone else is like, oh, I work for coaches, but they work for a holistic healthcare vegan coach. Not the same. What's rarely listed is also bandwidth. So, oh, this is so sad. Many clients are so let down simply because the VA doesn't have the bandwidth to do what they say they can do. This is not an issue of skill, but time. So you have to know, how many clients do they have? What number will you be? It is a real thing. No one wants to turn down money. So it's not about skill, but it's about capacity at that point. Another issue, ideal client fit. Is this VA excited to do the work for you? Even if she checked all the boxes and your work is not exciting to her, she will not do it or not do it well. And now you're simply relying on motivation, which by nature comes and goes. Like most clients hire VAs because they lack the motivation and the energy to do the work that they don't love. Can you imagine if your VA was in the same boat as you? Oh, that would like Titanic. It would be terrible. All right, question number 6. What should I ask in the interview? Now, there are only 3 questions I give to every single client to ask during the interview. There are very specific things that you want to ask for yourself, and I do provide those, but they're just not going to apply to everybody. So one of the questions that everyone should ask is, what kind of professional development do you participate in? You're not looking for something specific here. You're looking, are they a professional? What do they do? I mean, you just can't sit around and do nothing. Things move too fast. Where do you see yourself in 2 or 3 years? It is not uncommon for someone to say, oh, not doing this anymore. Well, you want to know that up front if you're hiring. And what else do you bring to the table? And this really opens up the opportunity for the VA to tell you experience that doesn't naturally come through. It's a great, great question. I love them. So these 3 questions will tell you a lot about the VA you are considering hiring. And I'm telling you, everyone is so amazed and surprised by the responses. It's not always good, but sometimes they're saying, I'm so glad I asked. I would have never known that. Some people tell me, I'm surprised she gave that answer, but I'm so glad she was honest to the question. So be really thoughtful about that. Again, I give my clients more questions to ask. They're tailored to each client, so I can't really do that here. But before you begin asking questions, start by asking yourself, what are the most important details I need to know about this VA? Then, from there, design the question to get a real honest answer. Don't ask a leading question. Don't make it a test. You want to set this person up for success. But for instance, myself, I do not like being ignored. I just can't stand it. You don't need to get it done right now. I don't have emergencies. I'm not like all the things going all at once. I'm very, very like diligent and thoughtful about the work that I'm doing. So there's plenty of leeway. But if I send something, I just want to know you received it. If I don't have something within 24 hours, like a thumbs up, I got it on it, like that will drive me nuts. So if you want to know if this person is detail oriented, you might ask, how would your clients rate your ability to be detail oriented on a scale of 1 to 10 and why? Not a difficult question. However, answering on their client's behalf is just different enough to ensure a true and honest answer. It just sheds more light and gives more like flavor to the response. So if you ask the question, would you consider yourself detail oriented? And they might have an answer prepared already. That's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that being prepared for an interview question is a bad thing. But if you change it just a little bit and they have to think from someone else's perspective, what they share will most certainly be different and more honest than answering something that is prepared. So important. You are not testing the VA. The point of the questions is to get honest answers. Do not ask testing questions. Leading questions that make every candidate seem like the right fit, also not good. And questions that are simply unimportant to you. So you can start searching online for questions and if it's not important to you, then it's not a good question. Like, that's the rule of thumb. So be sure to follow interview techniques. One is being silent and allowing for awkward pauses while the VA collects her thoughts. Don't fill in the gaps or answer the questions for the candidates. Relax. Find the flow. If there is no flow, no rhythm, there's likely, like, this isn't the person for you. So, think about that. Now, question 7. I'm not sure I know my needs yet. And yeah, this is really valid. It is so common. And I think clients feel a little struggle with this internally because you have needs, but don't know if they are appropriate for a VA or if their VA is there one out there for you who does what you were looking for. But the question behind that question is, can I hire a VA to do blank? And I tell clients, if you have a need, I have a VA. And it's why I created resources like the PVA self-assessment podcast, the PVA interactive hiring workbook, my book, this podcast. So go through those resources and really try to figure out, who is this person? What do you need? How are they going to assist you? What makes your life easier? It's a little bit hard for some clients because you really got to turn the table and it actually feels selfish, but it's not. Once you understand what is really valuable to you, it's more than putting down on paper the needs you have. It's about expressing them in a way that both attracts the right VA and deters the wrong VA. And I think that is the missing piece for the clients. This is what I do for my clients. And in here, it's not just like this laundry list, right? It kind of feels soulless just to, list everything out. And you might not need everything all the time. Maybe you need some things all the time and things like once a year. But that's the purpose of going through the consultations. And you can do a consultation on your own through the pod class, but without any homework on your part. I understand your needs, what is valuable to you, and the immediate and the long-term impacts of hiring the right VA. And after I conduct a consultation, it's actually very common for clients to tell me it was not only extremely valuable, but it was also therapeutic for them to go through. Now, the reason is because if you do the consultation on your own, which I lay out for you, you're more than welcome to do it. The interactive hiring workbook will take you through it as well. You're more likely to rush yourself, whereas I will not allow rushing. So it's a therapeutic process because it slows down. It slows down. I promise I don't dig into your life. Question number 8. How do I avoid hiring the wrong VA? Here is another question I have never had a client ask. This looked like clickbait to me, I'm telling you. The reason I've never heard one of my clients ask this is because successful people just don't talk like this. They just don't. They focus on what successful people do. They don't focus on avoidance and misplaced focus of focusing on not how to fail. Like that, everyone knows that's not how you do it. So you don't become successful at anything about focusing on what not to do. You don't want to have to worry about doing anything wrong. If you say, but I don't know what I'm doing, well, just focus on doing the right thing. And the right thing is taking my pod class or going through the PVA interactive hiring workbook. It is the proven system. It's the proven process to set you up for success. I mean, if you want to go into greater detail, you can read the entire book. That would be great. I'm also telling you, you can also follow the process. I will not steer you wrong, I promise. Now, the better question is, how do I know if I'm hiring the right VA? And this is what I base my entire business model on. Not just hiring a VA, but hiring the right VA There is a difference. If you've ever tried to work with one of your colleagues or a friend's VA and they're just raved and raved about them, and then you hired them and you thought, I don't get it. This is not working. I don't like this. This doesn't work. It's because you weren't matched properly. So the two pillars that I match on are communication strategy and ideal client fit. So communication strategy for you, the client. In your manner, your medium, your tone, your verbiage, it has to be super simple for you or else you won't do it. And then it feels like virtual assistance isn't working. It has to be your way. And clients get mixed up here again because they're extremely nice and thoughtful and they want to make it work and they're willing to give and take. They're willing to compromise. I mean, that's great. However, you are paying this person to work for you. Adjusting how you naturally act, how you naturally like to do things is the tail wagging the dog. You need to be you and someone needs to conform to you. That's why you are paying. Now, the ideal client fit is for the VA. They should think, I get to work with, this is where you fill in your name, and be really, really excited about it. Now, I have a private client right now. His name's Alex Goldfein. And let me tell you, I get to work with him, not the other way around. And I had exactly Alex in my mind when I created my business, even though it would be 6 years later before I ever met him. And that's how you know. That's how you know. And there are so many factors that complement these two pillars. However, if you don't start with these, none of the other things matter. You just cannot compensate enough to get past ideal client fit and communication strategy. You just can't be successful. When people say, what are the things I have to have? I'm telling you, these are the things you have to have. It cannot be done successfully without it. And hiring the right VA isn't about finding someone who can do everything. It's about finding someone who can do the right things, right? There's so much on the table. There will always be so much on the table. And the quality of the questions you ask yourself, even before you hire a VA directly, impacts the quality of your hire. That's why I even decided to do this podcast on this topic. It really is that important. You have to know what you want. And then once you define what you want, then you can find it. Now, if this episode assisted you, I know it was long, but I really wanted to dig in. Please like, subscribe, leave a review, and also share what question is a game changer for you. That's really helpful for me. And if you are ready to hire the right VA, download the PVA Self-Assessment Podcast. Also, buy the book, Hire the Right Virtual Assistant. There is the PVA Interactive Hiring Workbook. And if you would say, Melissa, I do not have the time to get this right. I cannot afford to get it wrong. Please help me. Book a complimentary consultation. We'll have the link in the notes, and you do not have to do this on your own. I will help you get it right. So thanks everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye.